So now here's a solo that incorporates some of these 9th and 6th chord ideas into a 12-bar blues. And of course it will continue to include some of the 7th chords, double stops, single note licks that we've been working on so far. Here it is. All right, for the first line, we're basically coming down the neck with a series of 9th and 6th chords. So we're starting out here. So we've got the 9th, the 3rd, and the root across the 11th, 9th, and 12th frets. So that chord. And then same chord only with the 7th on top. So 9th, 3rd, and flat 7. And then down to an E6 all across the 9th fret. And all of these are on the top 3 strings. And then down to the 9th chord at the 7th fret. So just coming down the scale, right? It's pretty cool. And then to an open string, and then sliding in by half step into an E6. So here's the 6th, the root, and the 3rd. And with the bass, we have this. So that's a pinch, bass, and then index on 2 and then on 3, pinching just, you're not going to really lift this finger off, but you're going to grab these 2. So 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. So here's a pinch of the 6th chord, and then grabbing the 9th chord on the and of 4. Next measure, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So 1 and 2, pinch on the half step before the chord. So 5th fret, 4th fret, 3rd fret, and then slide it again on beat 4. So beats 3 and 4 is pinch. Really, you only pick once and do the slide twice without any more right hand. So it's pinch, bass, like that. So now we have a single note move. So it's just a blues lick with a little bit of bending on that top 3rd, that flat 3. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and the flat 3rd here is a bit of a throwaway note. It's really there for kind of rhythmic purposes. You don't necessarily want to hear the open flat 3rd there, but in passing it works. And now bar 4. So we're coming down from the 6th chord, E6, chromatically down to E9. Pinch, fingers only, slide as you play the thumb, and on the and of 2, grab the chord again as you reach the 9th chord. And one more bass. So that's the first 4 measures. Now the second line is actually sort of similar, at least as far as the idea of it, which is we start off with chords coming down for 2 bars, and then we have more single note stuff. So the chords we've got it's the same stuff we've been doing in E, but transposed to A. So here you can see this would be an A major triad, the third, the fifth, and the root, like the top part of this bar chord. And here's putting in the seventh on the 8th fret of the 2nd string. And here's putting in the 9th on the 7th fret of the high string and keeping the 3rd. So there's an A9 voicing, going down to an A6. So here's the same triad, but here's putting the 6th in, raising the 5th to the 6th on the 2nd string, and then sliding it down to an A9. Here's the root of A, here's the 9, here's the 5th, and here's the flat 7. And then going to an A6 to an A9. So here's that whole thing of going from the 6th chord to the 9th chord, 6th chord to the 9th chord. We had it up here in E. Now we're doing it in A. And we're kind of breaking things up by playing a lot of the index finger hitting the 3rd string first, and then the 2 fingers on top, the middle ring hitting the high strings. Not always, but so what we've actually got is this. Let's see, from A. So 1 and, it's the index. Now pinch with the top 2 strings and the thumb, back to the index on the and, downbeat of 3, pinch, and take it from the A6 down to the A9. And now beat 4, bass, index, and now here's the top of the next measure. Pinch on the top 2 strings, index follows, beat 2, grab the whole chord with the thumb, and on the and, grab the 9th chord. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and then with that single note pickup. So 3 and 4 and now we've got a single note lick with a double stop 16th note. So the single notes just coming down the blues scale, right? Root, let's see, flat 3, root, flat 3, root, 5th, flat 3, and now 4 to flat 5 to 4 to flat 3, hammer on pull off, and then 4 to root, and then hammer on to major 3rd, 5th, root, and then a slide up to the root. Now if you include the double stop, so whenever I'm grabbing the 4th here, I'm also grabbing the high string with my ring finger. And when I go to make the slide here from the flat 7 to the root, I'm going to grab the high string with my ring finger as well. So I'm grabbing both the 2nd and the high string and doing a quick slide up. And so with the bass, pinch, 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 pinch. And then at the end, 3 and 4 and you're getting into position for the B7, which is the beginning of the next line. The B7 actually starts at the end of the 2nd line with this lick that kind of sets you up. But when you land on the B, we're putting in a little bit of a chord substitution going from B7, where we've just got the root, 3rd, and flat 7, to a C9 chord. So we've got, here's the root, here's the 3rd, which we're not really going to play, and then the flat 7 and the 9. So we have this, the lick, what you're hearing melodically on top is, and with everything else include, well, with the rest of the fingers. So we're doing some double stops. So here's root to the flat 7, and then we're grabbing the flat 7 and 9 of C9, and then back to the root and flat 7 of B7. And that's happening over the steady bass. So, and the top part's kind of syncopated, the bass is keeping everything right on the beat. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So we got a pinch, back to the index finger, pinch, thumb, index, and middle, back to just the index and middle on the and of 2, bass, and bass. So that's 3, so 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then open high string on the and of 4, and now we've got some A stuff. So we're going from A7 to A6, A7, A6, I'm sorry, A9, A6, A9, A6, A9. This is the lesson on ninth chords. And that's happening over the bass. Pinch, pinch, pinch. And so you're grabbing the whole chord here, then just the top 3 strings with the fingers, whole chord, fingers, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and so another single note pickup, 3 and 4 and, so that's just going from root 5th to 6th and back on the 2nd string. And now we're into a single note lick that includes some triplets and a double stop. And ends up on our original groove figure with the thirds. So you could go to either the flat 7 or the 6. Either one is cool, but I've got the 7th fret on top, I've got the 8th fret on the 2nd string, and I'm doing kind of a classic country blues train whistle groove, where you, train whistle lick, where you bend, you hold the high string steady, and you do a slight bend against it on the 2nd string, bending towards this note, but not getting there, while you're holding this note steady. And then a triplet, and then another triplet, and then another one. So 1 and, 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and, so root 6, 5, sliding into the 5, flat 7, root, 4, pulling off to flat 3 to root, and then our thirds groove right on the downbeat. So pinch, 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 and that wraps up the solo. So here's the whole thing played slowly, so you can see how all the pieces fit together line by line. now, one more time, up the tempo. Okay, so there's ninth chords and sixth chords and how to incorporate them into the blues. Take your time working through the voicings. Make sure you know kind of where you're going. It can take a little while before your hands will snap to a chord, one of these new chords as a chord, and you're not having to put your fingers down one by one. But if you practice kind of finding those shapes and grabbing them as shapes, you can start to slowly get them into your fingers and get them into your vocabulary the way you want to.